Well, if you have no objections, I'm going to go ahead and start this up, Philip.
We're one past, so.
Yeah, let's go ahead and do it. I call this meeting to order for the Board of Trustees of the Town of Buena Vista. Can I have roll call, please?
Mayor Lacy,
Here.
Trustee Eckstein, Trustee Fay,
Here.
Trustee Nyberg,
Here.
Trustee Rowe,
Here.
Trustee Swisher, and Trustee Volpe.
Here.
Thank you very much. Before you, oh, excuse me. Pledge of Allegiance, Philip.
Let me mute everybody real quick.
You good?
Okay, ready when you are.
Will you all please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Next item is the adoption of the agenda. Are there any modifications or questions on the agenda? I would entertain a motion to approve the agenda as presented.
I'll make that motion.
Thank you, Volpe.
Second.
Second, Nyberg. Further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
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 Thank you all. Motion passes. First item on the agenda, or the item on the agenda, is should the Board of Trustees approve adoption of resolution number 11, series 2021, entitled "The Resolution of the Board of Trustees Approving the Assignment." I was reading that, Philip. The assignment of the contract
Sorry.
to buy
There we
and
go.
sell real estate for certain property in Chaffee County, Colorado. Okay, we're good.
All right. Well, thank you all for joining a special meeting tonight. Very, very exciting moment, milestone for town. What we've brought for you tonight to consider is a purchase agreement for land and water rights that really fulfills or helps fulfill one of the highest priorities the town has had over several years. And this is there's a few key points I'll go through, but before I do that, I really want to recognize Joel Benson and Catherine Sellers, our town attorney, and Paula Barnett for working with me through the weekend to pull this together. We started a negotiation with the property owners last week, and it continued into the weekend, and we knew that was going to happen, and we're very happy to see that it's reached a point where the buyer and seller have agreed to terms, and we'll go through that, go through some of those points, and we'll answer any questions you have. But a great team effort, and I can't say enough about just how well everybody jumped in and to get this to the point we're at right now, which, in the big scheme of things, we still have a few things to get through, but we've reached terms on an agreement, and that's a very, very big deal. So let me go through here. There's several pages in the packet, and we'll jump to particular sections if there's questions, but I jotted down some highlights I just want to go through with you all. So kind of summarize what we're looking at here. The property is located 10 miles north of town on the way, in between here and Granite. It's 103 acres that, if you're familiar with Tompkins, the Jeep mechanic and shop, if you will, just on the west side of the highway if you're going north. So 103 acres there. It contains several buildings. There's a main house with 1 bedroom, 2 bath, 1,267 square feet, built in 2004. There's a garage, a detached garage with a bunk room, a bonus room, and a bathroom, about 1,260 square feet. And then there's a large metal building. I think it's about 2,800 square feet, but pretty large for storing equipment and other things. And then there's a number of other small storage buildings on the property as well. The water is 3.1 CFS of the dry field ditch. It's kind of a funny name for a water ditch, but dry field ditch, which has a 1882 water right. And this one is on the Arkansas River. So again, looking at our water portfolio and the strategy that we've had recently in pursuing water, this one really hits the high mark when looking at diversifying our portfolio off of cottonwood, something that isn't directly on cottonwood. So this water right helps us achieve that. Some of the terms of the agreement: the purchase price is $1,385,000 with $25,000 down in earnest money. The closing date is set for March 12th. And during that time, the town has time between now and March 5th to conduct a deep dive with our water engineers, Right Water Engineering, to evaluate the water and perform a water evaluation to ensure that it aligns to our offering price and to what we assume we're getting with the water. So looking at aspects about the historical use, the documentation, the flows, its ability to get back into the Arkansas, like all of that type of stuff. So our water engineers and attorneys will be helping during that time. So again, town has up until March 5th. And at any time between now and then, we can cancel this contract if for any reason we deem that the water is not satisfactory. So that gives us some flexibility. The other kind of nuance to this deal is the seller has asked to essentially lease back or occupy the house and some of the storage buildings 2 months after we close. And so in the packet, you will see an occupancy agreement that outlines the terms of that, essentially agreeing that as part of the purchase price, they can continue to occupy and work on moving during those 2 months. And then May 12th will be the official date when the town takes full possession. During that time, the town can access the property. Obviously, we'll need to do so for various reasons. Staff is very eager to start evaluating the property and kind of determining how we can use the property as well as the water. So we will be able to access during that time. The sellers would also, they'd be required to get a renter's an insurance policy to cover them, their personal property during that time. Let's see, I'll pause there. Joel, is there anything else you think we need to highlight as part of this?
Just the one thing, obviously the water only deal did not go through for the other real estate. We had spoken about that, and so the staff was operating according to the general direction from executive session to pursue the land deal, independent of that water deal. And we, I guess, Philip, the last little thing, if we do want to, we just have to let the sellers know if we want to come on the land. Just give them warning for when we want to come on, and they'll keep the utilities in their name. The part of that the water evaluation as well will determine how much we can continue to irrigate, for how long, what kind of, our water engineer said this is actually a better situation than just the water, because for return flows to the Arkansas and how to make sure that the river is flowing back to the Arkansas at the right time, as opposed to just a kind of a buy and dry sort of a deal. So, so there's a lot of opportunity with that. And Philip, you'll talk about the assignment, right? The idea.
Yes, I sure will. I
Okay.
sure will. Yeah, thank you, Joel. Just real quick on the water. Current documentation shows that 56 acres are currently irrigated, with about 47 being dry. So, Joel, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think the acre feet calculation puts it close to 87 acre feet, if I'm not mistaken.
I think it's like 84, but that's, more or less that's an acre footage, and depends on the crop and that kind of thing. And they have apparently good records according to our engineer. So we're pretty hopeful we'll get most of that and add a, even $12,000 an acre foot rate. That's a pretty good rate.
Let me just explain the assignment quickly. So Joel, again, huge help working with our real estate agent, Lynette Neeson. And the way this was structured is that it was put in Lynette's name as the buyer, to protect the identity of town as we were negotiating terms. So the step now that we need to go through is, now that the deal is signed, Lynette needs to assign that over to town. And that is the last document in your packet that you'll see. Essentially, I would sign on behalf of town to take over assignment of the contract as the buyer. So that's one of the things that's in your resolution to consider approval. And we have 72 hours to get that done. And we signed last night, Joel, was it 5 p.m. So we wanted to get it done, hence our special meeting this evening. So I will take a breath. Joel, do you want to add anything?
Yeah, and just to, I guess, emphasize then that the decision tonight is yes, let's accept this assignment, or no. If we say no, then we're done and we can try and negotiate a new contract. But it is not, let's change some items in the contract, because the contract's signed as per authority to negotiate. And this is really the best thing that we could do. So again, that's the decision is a yes or no. Yes, let's do it, or no, we don't want to.
Any questions?
Yeah, I have a question. The water that comes onto that property, some of it, if I remember right, is spring fed. And the other is snow melt off the mountain.
That's a good question, Norm. I believe some is off of Morgan Creek, but I'm not sure if it's spring fed or if it's all off the mountain. I don't know. That's a really good question.
Well, at one time I thought there was a spring up almost due west of the house. And I was wondering if that water was part of this or not, because when I was up there one time, that seemed like a good spring.
Yeah,
Just curious.
I know there's a domestic well for it, but I don't know what the spring. I don't know. That'll be part of that discovery on the water, but it's a really good point.
Thank you.
Thanks, Norm. And actually, if that be the case, long-term, that could make that portion of property even more valuable as a selling point If we get our needs out of the water rights, that spring could stay with the property and actually recoup us good money back on the deal. So that's an interesting point. Devin or Dave, do you have anything? Libby?
I think it sounds great, but that's all.
Yeah, I think it sounds awesome, and I've got questions about next steps, but they're sort of irrelevant to the discussion at hand, so I'll hold off on any additional input.
Thank you, Dave. Libby?
Yeah, I'm very excited about it. I think it looks like, we finally have found a way to buy some water rights after, 32 years? So that's really nice, I think. And I was looking at the contract, and some things that I was concerned about are addressed, like about the homeowners association and the lack of assignability, but those things are specifically addressed in the contract. So under the additional provisions and attachments on page 20. So I didn't come across any dark thoughts about why we shouldn't be doing this. So I'm all in favor of it.
Hey, I have nothing. Staff, if you don't have anything else to add, trustees, we'd be looking for a motion. Go ahead.
Just real quick, Mayor, since we do have her on, Michelle, do you want to just say quickly where we stand in the water fund to be able to write this check?
You're muted, Michelle.
I said, I don't know. I never look at it.
Not true.
We have $2.1 million in the bank. We have, and right now I'm not looking at anything, so I'm flying kind of off the seat of my pants, but we have approximately $2.5 million in Colo Trust, which is completely liquid. And then we have $3.2 million in bonds. 500,000 of that is coming due in the next few months, but we got the money. There's about $3 million in the water unrestricted water fund.
I think it's 3.5.
Okay.
Please.
I haven't looked at it lately, so I don't keep that information in my brain. It clogs it up. But we do have the money for it. And then Philip was concerned that if we spent this 1.3 million out of the water fund, we would still have enough to service the Corpta loan that we currently have, as well as enough to show that we're liquid as far as an additional Corpta loan for the water plant that we're looking at.
Thank you, Michelle.
Thank you, Philip. Thank you, Michelle.
Mm-hmm.
Any other points?
We could make money on this somewhere along the line.
Easily, Norm, easily. Or even employee housing.
Yeah,
I like that idea a lot.
yeah, it does give us a lot of flexibility to take care of some employee housing. Gives us a space when we need to do retreats or town get-togethers. But in the long run, I think it's a very good investment, and town could recoup a good amount of the costs through selling it on down the line too. So
Easily, I know the property. It's an interesting piece of property.
mm-hmm.
We could all move out there and start a commune.
Yeah.
Yeah, it could be our little like Camp David,
That's right. Or Guyana without the Kool-Aid.
Yeah.
Libby, what do you have?
Well, I just was going to ask Philip. He said at some point he'd like to tell us how this came about. And I don't know if that's tonight or some other time.
Oh, Yeah. There's a lot of stuff going through my mind. Obviously, this is awesome to be the town administrator as we're going through something like this. But one of the thoughts is that we put a little bit of time into, especially after we close on the property and everything checks out on the water, doing a little PR about this. I mean, it's a huge accomplishment for everybody, the board, everybody involved. And so doing a little bit of PR about it. And within that, you know, one of the reasons we found out about this is a local realtor who's part of our planning and zoning commission reached out because he knew we were talking about water and we had a big need. And he was aware of this property and water for sale, and he reached out. And how simple is that, right? And yet it hasn't really happened all that much, at least in recent years. So really kind of calling attention to that. I don't want to put that particular person in a awkward position, but I think it's a great example of what we're hoping will happen more and more is kind of the community taking care of itself on these types of matters, and simply people's various roles, whether they're realtors or property owners or water owners, being aware of town's needs and that we're serious about it. So that was kind of the origin. And boy, Joel, what did it take? About a week and a half, 2 weeks once it got going? I mean,
Yeah, something like that.
things can come together quickly.
Well, it's a good example of thinking outside the box.
That was going to be one of my questions, Philip and Joel, and I'm sure that, you know, Lynette's getting a chunk of change, or the realtors are getting a chunk of change out of this. So I'm sure that they will be feeding us information, or if an opportunity like this presents itself again, that there'll be, this might not be a one-time event, I guess is my hope.
Agree.
And not to take anything away from anybody, but we're fortunate to have staff that's available to pursue this in a minute's notice, and that makes a big difference. And so obviously, Joel, we appreciate it, and your knowledge of water really helps out on a deal like this. Really helps out. So any other further questions?
I have no questions, but I'd like to make a motion that we accept resolution number 11, series 2021 and pass it.
Thank you, Norm. Second, Libby. Further discussion? Roll call vote, please.
Trustee Fay,
Yes.
trustee Nyberg,
Yes.
trustee Rowe,
Yes.
and trustee Volpe.
Yes.
Thank you all very much, and great job, people. Great job. Yep.
Yeah, congratulations, everyone. This is exciting.
Yeah. Thank you so much
Nice
to
work,
staff
man.
and to Joel and everybody.
Yep. It shows, lack of a better way to put it, some true colors, because we've got potential. All we need is the opportunity. That's for sure. Next item on the agenda, I believe, is adjournment.
So moved.
I'll second that, but I also want to thank the entire staff for a job well done.
Thank you.
Thank you for the Norm, second Norm, and thank you for the comment. Appreciate it very much. All in favor, say aye.
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 Thank you all. Have a good night and a good meeting. Thank you.
Right on.
Thanks, everyone.
Good night.
Thanks,
Awesome.
Joel. Philip. Paula.
Thanks,
Michelle,
Philip. Joel.
Guys.
Mayor.
Talk to you guys. Good night.